Arne confirms Alexander Isak will be out for months and criticises Mickey van der Ven for the challenge that injured Britain's most expensive player. But a fracture following a tackle from Mickey van der Ven as he scored on Saturday evening. Let's hear from Slot now.
It's been a really challenging and difficult period for him, I think. You join a new club. Usually when you join a new club, he was very excited, of course, as well, but you want to show immediately all the qualities you have. But that was simply impossible. Maybe no one understands, but if you haven't trained for 3 or 4 months on a serious level with the team, and you are playing in this league, you're not playing in I don't know where, but in this league you need to be on top of your game to impact a game of football, and that took, which we all knew, months before we could bring him there, because there was no pre-season. There were games. No time, hardly any time to train. So we always knew that it would take him time, and that's why it's he's so unlucky that he's now injured, because I think we all saw with his goal against West Ham, with this goal, that he got closer and closer to the player he was last season at Newcastle.
We will hear more from Slot throughout the morning. Good morning, Darren McAntony. Right, Alexander Isak, we'll start with him. He's going to be out for months after his surgery. How upsetting is it for the player, but also from a club point of view, given that they spent £125 million on him?
It's twofold, and it's not about the valuation, because every club loses good players, and we lost one this week as well for months, one of our first 11 players. So it's devastating for a manager, it's devastating for a player, but then you go to the strength of your squad. So now we'll see the strength of Liverpool's squad. Some will argue, well, they don't have enough in forward areas. I'd say in the wide areas it was an area of concern already. You're going to have to keep Ekitike fit. And luckily he's been sensational since he signed this season. But for Isak himself, it's been such a stop-start season with all the speculation leading up to the transfer, and every day on Sky would have been about Isak joining Liverpool. He's come in, he's not been fit, hasn't looked great, hasn't looked anything like the player last year. And then you start seeing signs, the goal at West Ham, the goal in the game, and then the injury. So he'll be back in a few months, and Liverpool are just going to have to get on with it.
But before we get on to the transfer window, this challenge here from Mickey van der Ven has had a lot of criticism.
It's not malicious. And I know the criticism, and players get that sometimes. I don't think it was malicious. It wasn't a great game from that point of view. There were a lot of naughty challenges all over the pitch. But I don't think he's that kind of player who's going to injure Isak. He's just trying a last-gasp, desperate attempt to stop the player. As a defender, he's done the right thing. He's trying to get a block in there. It's just turned out to be a horrible injury afterwards.
Yeah, that's what Tim Sherwood was on the show yesterday, and what he said was, it is a bad challenge.
Yeah, but he's doing the right thing as a defender.
But he had to make the challenge.
If he doesn't make the challenge, you're going to criticise him for not trying.
Yeah.
So, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and in terms of the recruitment there, you said that the start of the season you thought they might be a bit light wide.
Out wide, yeah.
Everybody said they were light at centre-back.
Sure.
So in an ideal world, do they now need...
Spend another 500 million, is that right?
A wide player, a centre-back and a striker.
Yeah.
When there are rules now. There are rules. You can't do that really unless they get loans with options to buy, I suppose.
There are rules, but I mean, Liverpool are well within their cap and PSR and whatever else. I don't think they have an issue on that. From that side of things, is January a great month to do business? It's not usually. You're going to overpay. So the focus originally would have been, do we need another centre-back? Gomez is obviously... He's got niggles, he's got injured again. We lost the young Italian to the ACL. You've now got a Champions League campaign in the second half of the season. You've got a league campaign. So they're going to have to rely on the squad. They might have to dig deep into some of the younger players from their academy. They definitely need a player out wide. Semenyo's been linked, obviously, and it could be a replacement for Salah. But how many great number 9s are out there?
Would you be keen for Semenyo, who can't... He doesn't often play as a striker for Bournemouth, but he has when he was younger. And he does play both sides.
His Gapco's fit, you could play him down the centre as a 9. So he's done that before. He's done it for Holland. He could score goals. Do you do the Pep thing and go with a false 9? You've got enough attacking talent in there. Ekitike, obviously, you keep him fit, make sure he plays all your league games. So, listen, we're talking like Liverpool have got no players to play up there. They have options. Just at the moment, they're getting hit with the injuries.
With Semenyo, we know that Manchester United and Manchester City are in for them.
Yeah.
Liverpool keen as well. Tottenham have fallen by the wayside.
Yeah.
If you're the player there, which one of those three
City or Liverpool?
Most attractive?
Yeah, well, City, no disrespect to United, but you go for the teams that are in with a title chance. Liverpool are the champions, Man City under Pep. You know, he'd probably get eventually game time at Liverpool, because you think, well, is this Salah's final season? You know, Liverpool aren't strong out wide, so I think Liverpool would be tailor-made for him.
Okay, so that's some
And a proven Premier League player with goals in him.
Yeah, and he is, and actually relatively cheap.
Yeah, 60-odd million's a bargain in that
He's
position.
worth more than you'd pay for him. That's
100%. So he would be a very good signing. And look, Liverpool's recruitment's been very good the last window. So we'll see what they've got in store. But it might end up being busier than they thought.
Right, let's hear from a Liverpool fan now. Loads are getting in touch. Here's a voice note from Chris.
I think they do need to sign a centre back, because they're still conceding too many chances. Van Dijk and Konate are okay, but I think Liverpool need to go all out for Gay in January. All out for Gay, he was out of contract at the end of the season.
Yeah.
What is all out when you've only got 6 months left?
20 million, see if Palace basically sniff at that. They'd probably want more. It depends. Palace might decide, look, if you're a Palace, you're in a tough one, because you kept him really because your manager was going to be unhappy if he left. It's one of the reasons they probably kept him in the summer. You've got a great manager, you don't want to push the boat with him and lose a top player like that, and that's why the deal was pulled. Look, Parish and co know what they're doing at Palace. They're very astute. I'm sure they've already got potential replacements lined up. So can they bring one forward from the summer, and can they get enough money for Gay now in January? And then the other thing is, does the player and his agent still want to go to Liverpool, or have they got better offers? But he is a perfect player for Liverpool.
It's another situation, isn't it, where whatever Liverpool get him for, he is worth more, I suppose, still.
Yeah, of course. But look, for Liverpool, if they got him for 15, 20 million, even with 6 months left, look, they got 10 million for Trent Alexander-Arnold, who had like days left on his contract. So, at the end of the day, you're ahead of the game, because you're going to end up a player who's worth 50, 60, 70 million when he's signed on a long-term deal with Liverpool. And what do you do for Liverpool's back four? Because they are having a weak moment defensively. They have all season.
When a player's got a release clause and you're trying to buy that player, a lot of transfer fees, and you can explain this a lot better than me, they're spread over about 4 years.
Yeah.
With a release clause, you have to pay it up front.
Yes, a lot of the times, yes. Release clauses is a bit like, say, in Spain or Europe, where you have to go in and lodge the money in to get the player out. You buy out the player, basically, the contract with the club. So, say there's a player I like in League 2 or in non-league, and a lot of the time there are release clauses, and you hear about them through agents. 200 grand, and I don't want to pay 200 grand up front for the player, so I want to pay that over time. So I got on to his club and say, look, everyone knows the release clause is 200 grand. I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll give you 250 over 4 years. So you can have your 200 grand up front, or you can take 250 over 3 seasons or 4 seasons. So I'll pay you a little bit more. And that's, I think, what happened. Was it recently when the boy went to Arsenal? There was a release clause, but I think maybe there was deals done on instalments.
Right, okay. So you might pay a little bit more to make sure you can pay.
Yeah. And nobody wants to pay up front for players. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of business nowadays is done on the never, as we call it, in our business. So you would try and navigate around the release clause. And I've never done release clauses in 20 years with any of the players I've had. Never.
Oh, you've never given them?
Never.
Okay.
I've had agents come on and go, we want a release clause, and we want 5% if the player gets sold, that goes to the player of any profits. And they're 2 no's from me always. And we've done a lot of deals, but they are like hard no's.
Okay.